Hi, and welcome to another episode of Honest to a Malt with myself, Duncan, Mike, aka Two Puds, and this week we've got a special guest, Michael Omri, or Michael Henry.
Yes, depending on how you say it.
Yeah, depending on whether you're
French.
How much of an Arsenal fan you are, right?
Yeah, this is very true. Yeah.
So, what's the episode title today, Mike?
Blend it, Michael Henry.
And now it's time for the main event of the podcast, blending out of Glasgow, Scotland, former homebrewing young person champion of the year of his household, a man who embraces chaos every weekend, coaching kids rugby, the reigning master blender of Loch Lomond, Glen Scotia and Lillimel, absolutely no relation to Thierry Henry, sadly, Michael Whiskey Skills to Pay the Bills, Henry.
Very nice.
Short and simple.
Yeah. So, welcome, Michael. Thanks so much for coming on. It's a real pleasure.
Thanks for having me this evening. Good to be here.
Yeah. Well, thanks for giving away that we record in the evening because we've been pretending it was 10 a.m.
Yeah. Everyone loves day drinking.
Such a reveal.
Yeah, I think when you start with like what's in your glass at 10 a.m, if you're hitting the whiskies pretty hard, it's...
We had 1 week recently where I had a cup of tea in my hand, but this week I very much have got Glen Scotia and Loch Lomond on the table. So
Why have you got those in particular?
I don't know. It's just a coincidence, isn't it?
Just random. Good.
Yeah. So, should we do what's in your glass then?
I think that's a good idea. What I'll do, I'll go to Duncan first. So if we go, Duncan, what's currently in your glass?
What's in your glass? Oh, yeah. Oh, what's in your glass?
Well, I've poured the delicious Loch Lomond Distillery Edition number 2. That's sort of lightly peated. And I can't think of anybody better to explain about the whiskey than the gentleman that's on the podcast. So what's how would you sum up that one, Michael, the Distillery Edition number 2?
So that's the peated blend.
Yeah.
We say it's lightly peated. It's distilled from 100% 50 ppm phenol malted barley. Mm-hmm. So it's distilled from heavily peated malt, but it's unusual in that it's a blend. You don't often get like grain whiskey that's distilled from peated malt. So what we want to show was just a different take on peat character. People always talk about the ppm as a measure of the strength of peat.
Yep, ppm.
And it's always the ppm that distillers gives, always the ppm in the malt, not the spirit itself.
So before it's gone through the whole process.
Yeah, rather than at the end once it's bottled.
Yeah, and we kind of know about difference between Islay peat, mainland peat, like where the peat's from has a big impact on flavour. We know the strength of peat, like the ppm has a big impact on flavour. What this whiskey's showing is how you distill has a huge impact on the flavour. If you think that that's the same strength of peat as in the malted barley as a Laphroaig, Lagavulin, but you've a totally different peat character on it.
Yeah, it's completely different. But it's still very, even though it's lightly peated, as you said, it's still very bold. It says on the bottle, sweetly phenolic, iodine, dry wood smoke, some clove, menthol with tangy blackberry, toasted coconut, soft smoke and charred oak, red apple, clove, aniseed, and melted brown sugar. I think, it's sweet, slightly waxy. It's definitely phenolic peat, which is very cool actually to have. And you definitely get a lot of the red apple in there and the smoke. And I think, you can probably get the... I'm not sure I get the coconut, but Mike definitely will because he gets coconut on everything. And
I don't know where this rumour came from. This is Ben.
It's just true. It's just true. But I did find this one really interesting, this Loch Lomond, so I've really enjoyed it. Although I will say that Distillery Edition number 1 was my favourite one from the run. And it's nothing to do with anything other than I just thought, was that the Chardonnay one?
Yeah, that was the
Chardonnay
yeast 9-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was my favourite.
That one we kind of were actually bottled before lockdown and then weren't able to release. So, it's been good to get the series up and running, and I'm working on edition 4 now for release. Well, this side of Christmas.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Nice.
We'll see if we can tease some more out of you later.
Yeah, and so I've also got lined up the Glen Scotia Campbelltown Malts Festival from this year, and I actually bought one of the 8-year-old ones from auction recently because I had to have another bottle in my life. So that's a big. I mean, I love that one. It's got a huge treacle note running through it.
Yeah, two very different sides of Glen Scotia.
Totally different. Yeah.
Last year was a kind of big, chunky hit of smoke and treacle. This year was very much more subtle and kind of the lightly peated had a kind of dryness to it that went really well with the citrus on the white port. So just a very different side of Glen Scotia.
Yeah. I couldn't say which one I prefer really, but I like them both in different ways. And I had a raid on my samples box this week over the last few days, and I tried some stuff that I needed to get through, finished off some blind drams and things like that. It's been good. And I'm probably going to head into another 6 days off the booze after this, after recording today, probably, or at least 5 days off. Oh,
You may as well have a few tonight then.
yeah.
Or today,
Maybe.
or the morning, whatever time we record this.
Yeah. So we've got Mike and Michael. So Michael, what's in your glass then?
So I'm starting off this evening with Wild Turkey 101.
Ooh, classic.
I love the fact you've gone. I love the fact you've gone bourbon. Oh, that's going to annoy so many people.
No, it's,
Not me. It doesn't annoy me.
no, that's a spectacular.
It's a
drink.
spectacular whiskey. Yeah.
Kind of when it comes to my whiskey, I've kind of heavily Scotch, but I'll drink kind of Irish, American, South African, kind of.
Do you get
worldwide.
bored of like the Loch Lomond stuff? You must do a little bit. You need a break from your own stuff because you're doing it all day.
Yeah, it's like do you listen to if you make like if you those film stars and they ask them if they watch their own movies, they're like, nope, nope, never watched a film on my own.
It's not that I can't be bothered with it, but I know what it tastes like.
Yeah,
So I want to taste the next thing.
really dumb question for me here. Like, how much do you actually try? So let's take something like the Campbelltown, let's just take the Loch Lomond Distillery Edition, one of those. So how much would you have tried it? Because I know what it tastes like. I've got it in the cupboard, but I don't get bored of it. How much would you try of it over what period of time before it gets released?
To get to the kind of whiskey in the bottle, I'll like the edition I'm working on now. Sampled about 40 to 50 casks.
Okay, I see.
I'll run that down to like 15, and then I'll run it down again to 8, and then I've picked 3 casks to go together.
Right.
Wow.
And how many mils are you? How many sort of what kind of size of sample are you taking from each one of those casks there to try?
It's 100 ml sample from each cask. So
Wow.
I taste 20 mils at a time with 20 water.
Yeah, you got half.
So tasting at about 25-27% strength.
Yeah.
And that's just to take the alcohol burn off your nose. If you're kind of nosing any number of samples at higher strength, the ethanol in the whiskey kind of numbs your nose.
Yeah,
So,
a bit.
so
And
I'll,
can destroy your palate if you're not careful as well.
so I'll have 2 or 3 rounds of selecting actual casks, and then I'll put together a couple of different combinations. I'll pick the best 3 or 4 casks and then make up kind of 3 or 4 different combinations with them.
So once you've now I understand you've actually tried quite a lot of that whiskey or the profile of that whiskey before it actually comes out. So yeah, that makes sense. So why do you love Wild Turkey 101 then? It is well loved generally.
It's probably with the Oswas coming up. I took a recommendation from that, and I think I don't spend a lot of money on whiskey, so I tend not to buy anything above £50 a bottle.
Wow, 50 quid.
You've been hanging out with Brian too much,
Yeah.
mate.
You're making Brian's £100 limit look generous. Yeah.
I'll treat myself to something that's maybe 70, 80 now and then, but my normal buying's like sub 50.
You are
So
getting to
this-
try good stuff through work, though. To be fair,
I was going to say, I mean, when you've
Yeah.
got a 40-year-old little mill just
Yeah.
sat in that little office that I've been to. I remember I went up there in 2018, and
That's with
Ebon,
the blind tasting guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
Ebon showed us your room, and I was like, oh my word! It had like every possible whiskey known to man. It makes my 300 bottles look pathetic. So I can see why you dive for maybe the lower shelves when it's coming out of your own pocket. Definitely makes sense. Why wouldn't you? But that's a great choice with the 101.
But it's my kind of personal sweet spot for age is younger whiskies. You get more of the distillery character
about 7th.
the younger the whiskey is. So anything from kind of 8 up
Yeah.
to kind of 15's my kind of oldest, I think.
Right.
Too much wood after that.
Yeah.
So I kind of love the difference between distilleries. And
Yeah.
that's kind of, you get much more of that, say, on 10-year-olds. So if you look at all my bottles, there's a big kind of line of 10s.
Yeah.
And if you look at like the kind of Talisker 10, Ardbeg 10, Arran 10, Port Charlotte 10, you see you're on pretty solid ground if you're drinking those all the time.
Yeah. I think I've been banging on a lot about. Are we allowed to talk about Springbank? I've been banging a lot about the Handfill at the moment, and it's quite young, isn't it? The Handfill. It might have some.
It's around 5 years or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
What's that there? The tasting room.
So that's a Handful Springbank.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I feel like you get way more of. I was agreeing with you in my pleb way. You get way more of the distillery character in like the Handfill than you do in. Maybe not necessarily the 10, but certainly way more of the distillery character than that you get than, for example, the 15. That's what people want. They want the distillery character with Springbank, don't they? So feels like Handfill car strength. You can. I actually did what you do the other day, and I went 50-50 on it with water to see if it could take it, and the Handfill could. For me,
Nice.
it was still great. So Mike, what's in your glass then?
You did that. You timed it as I was taking a sip, didn't you?
Yeah, purposefully.
So, just to throw it off, I grabbed a bottle of the Loch Lomond Distillery Edition, number 3. So we went up in the series.
Right.
That one is the extra long fermentation. So, yeah, absolutely lovely dram. Again, I'm going to hand straight back over to you and tell us about it.
Yeah, you're making our job easy today, Michael, to be honest. I might put my feet up.
Yeah, so that again, it's a combination of 3 casks fatted together, a small batch bottling. The thinking behind the extra long fermentation is once a year we stop distilling for our annual maintenance shutdown. So it's mainly to do with the boilers, where we need an insurance inspection on the boilers, so we can't do anything without steam.
Right.
So we basically turn the boilers off and stop everything. Probably 2012 was the first time we did it. Before we shut down, we filled all our wash bags, so left them full of wash before we stopped for the shutdown. So we kind of filled them, left them, and then when we came back 3 weeks later, all the maintenance done, started distilling again.
Right.
And this is what we got through. So it was a kind of deliberate choice. So it was the thinking that we just leave it and see what's contaminated the wash and what will happen with it. Say the wash itself was pretty rough stuff,
Right.
All right.
but when we distilled it, it gave this kind of beautiful thick new make spirit.
Right.
And what we're looking for, those kind of sharp, kind of mouth-watering esters, that kind of citrusy, kind of sour taste.
Oh, it definitely got a sour taste in it.
Yeah,
It's a huge fruit bomb. It's great.
The sour bit I really get, and it makes it kind of a bit unique's a stretch word, isn't it? But it makes it definitely different.
It's got a hint of like just chewing straight into a lime. That makes sense.
if I had to sum it up, I would say apple sour sweets.
Yeah, apple sour. I thought like I got plum
boiled
sour as
sweets,
well, but I think it's just my brain getting confused, between the two. Definitely apple sour.
It's really good. And that was like, again, you put that one at a 57.2. I can't remember the price. It was really, really good value as well for a 10-year-old.
It's about 65 quid, wasn't it? Something like that.
Yeah, I think I told a lot of people to get hold of that, and I think a lot of people did. So, yeah. Send the commission check my way.
Lots of people have been very complimentary of the whole range of those distillery editions. So they've definitely picked up a fan base, haven't they? So it's good to hear it's continuing, right?
Yeah. So it's we had thought about doing 4 releases a year, but 4's a bit of a stretch for us. So 3 gives us a chance to really kind of do them properly. I think that's more important.
So is it something then? It's obviously an experimental range because you're doing a lot of experimentation, aren't you? Right? Is it something you plan to continue for a few years, or just see how it goes?
Just see how it goes. It's something that when distilleries have visitor centres, they can show this sort of thing off, and because we can't bring people in, we thought we'd kind of do this like a small scale series and let people see what we're kind of working on, that we'll be hitting our main range in kind of 10-15 years time.
Right, okay. So this is sort of planning for the future type thing.
Yeah. So this is really looking at what we're doing now to kind of come in through our core range in kind of 10 years time.
Future whiskey. So it's that. What's coming down the road. That's good to know.
And it's like a testing ground for it, so we'll see what works, what doesn't.
In a way, it's been too successful because everything's worked. So it doesn't really see.
I'm sensing you're not going to have any whiskey left to sell in there for 10 to 15 years.
Don't worry, these are kind of 500-600 bottle releases, so they're.
This one was 300, the number 2. So
3 was 500 bottles.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. And so has anything been annoying anybody in the last week? We have a bit of a therapy each week. If everyone had a positive week, that's totally fine. But, if anything's been bugging you, feel free to share it now.
Not bugging, but I do have to sort of recall a whiskey delivery story, just to sort of butt in here, because I feel like it was a good one.
Go on then.
It wasn't quite delivery. I sort of aired about it last week slightly to you off record, and you laughed and said you have to bring that up. So,
me?
If Lara listens to this, I'm dead, especially in a current mood.
Okay, all right.
So, obviously last week I've started looking at. I'm gonna do my own legs here. Looking outside of whiskey auctions for whiskey.
I'm breathing heavily for you right now.
So I have been scouring basically UK live auctions just to find the odd one that's got whiskey, and I quickly look if there's stupid bids on stuff. I don't even bother, but I've been monitoring something and ended up picking up 2 Japanese whiskies that were like 200 quid a pop retail price, and I managed to pick up both for 200 with a random Japanese spirit thing thrown in as well.
That was that shochu thing you were on last week.
Shochu. So, yeah, obviously it hasn't moved from where I left it.
Mike, it shot you in the foot.
Yeah, very well done.
Thank you.
So anyway, I won this auction and then had to take the car to Rayleigh in Essex. Now, we've got a new car. It's got tracking things. So Lara gets notifications if the car starts up. She knows where it is.
You're being
so
stalked.
Me picking this up was like, no reason for me to be in that area of the world.
Oh, dear me. Just tell you you're having an affair.
Yeah. Sorry, love. I'm seeing someone else.
Probably easier.
So I had to concoct a meeting with one of the boys from I used to work with who lives in that town. Went, mate, I'm going to have to come see you for a coffee. He went, yeah, no worries. So drove to Essex, met my friend, flew to the auction house, picked this stuff up, and then came home, none the wiser. But getting it back in the house then, it was just sat in the boot of the car. And I'm like, there's no way I can get to this whiskey that's in the boot of the car without her finding out. Because she's like a hawk at the moment with everything I do. So she got herself upstairs, bless her. And as soon as I could hear she was in the bathroom, I quickly turned the CCTV doorbell off, legged it to the car, grabbed these bottles, ran it down to the whiskey room, shoved it in here, locked it, camera back on. So there was no proof, and I was home free.
I love it.
Until I've just said this.
And you didn't know those bottles, but because they were so cheap, you've gone, well, that's a banker, right? I mean,
It's got to be. Yeah,
it's a banker.
Yeah, they're basically like buy one get one free. When did you get that for like Japanese whiskey?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's a nice story, Mike.
Yeah,
it's very
cheers,
good.
mate. Yeah.
So, Michael, anything that's been annoying you want to share, or are you a beacon of positivity on this pod?
Say a beacon of positivity. I'm feeling pretty good tonight.
Oh, that's lovely.
No, I'd say kind of the weekend we've had just 2 young kids, got them outside the whole time, run the legs off them, and had a kind of quiet weekend.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice. It was sunny though, wasn't it? So
Yeah, it helped. My wife was in Mallorca and it was pouring down there. So I just spent the weekend sending her pictures of the sun in Glasgow.
what are the chances?
I love it.
She goes away just for a few days or whatever, and it was sunny in Glasgow, and then she'll come back and it'll be raining in Glasgow every day until Christmas.
Oh, that's exciting. So we've got one story, one positive story. Let's go over to Disillusioned Duncan for your weekly negativity.
I mean, I'm sure I can master something. The best thing I had, I picked up a bottle of, I had a £20 off voucher with SMWS, and I picked up a bottle of, it was Glenlivet. It was 16-year-old first fill sherry cask, and so that's
nice.
That's like, I like to line something up for Christmas that I'm going to be excited about opening. And I've tried a bunch of the sort of 10 to sort of 14-year-old single cask Glenlivets that you pick up. You know, the casks that are like 900 something. I think some of them are like ex-Chivas. Michael would know more than us, but they're hit and miss. But this one apparently is very good. No notes of sulphur in it at all, and people were saying kind of like mocha in there too. And some of those single casks from SMWS, some of the Macallan ones I've tried, the first fill and Glenlivet, and some of the they're very good sometimes. So I got it for I think £82 in the end, which after my discount voucher, which I'm pretty happy about. So that's my Christmas whiskey lined up. It'll be one of the bottles that gets opened in December. And
Did you see they're doing a world record tasting?
Yeah.
I'm in on that.
You've got
100%.
You've got to pay £25 for the privilege to do it though.
I want a Guinness certificate. I don't know if we get one.
I don't, Mike. You definitely don't get a certificate yourself.
Well, I will print off the one they get, and it's going on the wall somewhere.
Right, I was there.
I'll officially be a world record holder.
Mike, I don't want to break your heart, but I'm just going to say that I was there and tell people that. We'll be out somewhere, and you'll hear me. You'll overhear me saying, "Oh yeah, I was in that Guinness World Record attempt." Yeah.
What I enjoyed most about it is that Dan, that was on the pod before, has gone, I've got the record, and there was more people on it than he really bit. I went, yeah, but it wasn't Guinness officiated or whatever. So.
No, I'm sure that. Let's see what kind of numbers they get to. It's pretty interesting. So we should also formally introduce Michael Henry, or Michael Henry, as I'm sure you're actually called. I can't stop saying Henry. Does anybody ever? Before we say this, are you an Arsenal fan or football fan of any kind?
No.
All right. So if we do
kinda
like
more thinking about 4 days time.
Yeah.
Is that rugby?
Big rugby fan, yeah.
That's fine. Rugby's a legitimate sport as well.
Duncan's like, rugby is a sport?
Rugby's a sport. I used to watch rugby when I was younger, and I grew out of it. I'm just asking because I can't get out of my head like Michael Henry, Michael Henry. I can't get it out of my head. Does no one ever? You don't have like football chants going on around the distillery when you're knocking about? No.
No.
You don't do like Thierry Henry thumbs up. If you look at my hand, that's the normal thumbs up. Thierry Henry, he just puts his thumb just ever so slightly on top of his hand like that, so it's barely up.
Because when did he play for Arsenal?
Oh God, that's going back, isn't it?
Well, it's a years ago now. It's like, what, 50? He probably retired like 15, 20 years ago.
Are you an Arsenal fan, Duncan?
No, he was just a great football player. He's a real personality. There's a lot of similarities between him and Michael. They both have that sort of charming, winky smile thing.
They could both do Renault Clio adverts with a bit of je ne sais quoi.
Loads of style, loads of swagger. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. No, I'm not.
Obviously, you're more interested in the forthcoming World Cup.
Yeah. Rugby World Cup that's starting on Friday night.
Simple question. Yes or no? Are Ireland going to win it?
Yes.
I think so as well.
Super confident.
Yeah. I'd love to see him against a sort of island team in the final, because I think what I really want, sorry to say it, I want a island team to, as in the Samoas and Fijis, to win the World Cup, because then it might install a bit of pride and stop people going to New Zealand. And then if we just end up playing New Zealand with their actual own people that they've raised, they're going to get
Very
battered.
different story.
Finally.
Oh, right, because
those
they've got
All
loads of
Blacks,
players from. other
They
countries.
basically just
Yeah,
bring
it's-
people in. From
England have
Samoa,
loads of players.
Fiji.
England have loads of players
It's
from
the
other
equivalent
countries
of
as well.
like the British Lions. It's
Yeah.
like, so it's New Zealand Lions when they turn up. It's like players from all the islands. And
Yeah. So I just really want that to like come and bite them in the bum.
Right.
Island teams just have their own sort of like, people proud to play for Fiji, Samoa, etc. And
so they've had a couple of decent results last week.
I think so.
They
Did
beat
they-
some.
they played-
They beat some. It wasn't Wales. They beat.
No, it wasn't Wales. It
Oh
wasn't
my
Ireland.
days! You two are going.
It
Wasn't
wasn't
Scotland
Scotland, was
either.
it? It
No,
wasn't Scotland.
no.
We can't. This is some sort of
It's
rugby.
England, yes.
This is some sort of
yes.
rugby what's it? What do you call it? Rabbit hole or something? Like, this is some sort of black hole of rugby you two are going into. Hey, you'll have plenty of chance to discuss it down the pub with a pint with your.
I've been
mates
so
at home and
professional and like nice to people this week because I know Wales are in a bit of a dire place at the moment as well. If it was any other time,
You don't wanna
I
get
would
grief.
have been unbearable to anyone English. But yeah, currently I have to just sit and be quiet.
So I've been there with Ireland. So I think what goes around comes around. I think
Yeah.
we're on the up now. So we need to just
Yeah.
kind of stay positive about it.
My main thing would be definitely gloat when you win because you only get that chance for a little bit and then you'll be back down to you won't win for years again. So
Say that you could win it in say 20 years ago and still be talking about it. But
yeah, I know where you're getting at. Yeah. I'm abreast of sport enough to know that you're taking a mickey. Okay, so Michael, please introduce yourself.
M stands for Michael Emery. I stands for Industry Titan. C stands for Custard and Crumble. H stands for Honest to a Mole. A gets you 1 point in Scrabble. E gets you 1 point in Scrabble. L, hey, you're not allowed names to Scrabble. Blend it, Michael Emery.
You're obviously the master blender for Loch Lomond, Glen Scotia, and Little Mill. But over to you.
Yeah. So I look after Loch Lomond, Glen Scotia, Little Mill distilleries. Being the blender, I'm kind of really best way to sum it up. I'm responsible for what's in the bottle for all three distilleries. Kind of long route to get there. I've been in whiskey now for been in whiskey and beer for over 25 years. It kind of started where I grew up. I think people know from my accent I'm not Scottish. I grew up on the north coast of Ireland.
Yeah.
It's a town called Port Stewart. So it was near Bushmills Distillery.
Mm-hmm.
And what was closer to that was Coleraine Distillery. So Coleraine was the last of the kind of the original Irish distilleries to close. So it was kind of grew up with kind of whiskey thereabouts. So it was always around. Dad and my granddad both drunk Bushmills. So a bottle of like Bushmills original in the house all the time.
I love that dram. I have to get in. Like the Bushmills 10 is such great value, consistent, still now far better than Jameson's.
Yeah,
Controversial, but I love it.
Always have a bottle of Bushmills. At the minute I've a Black Bush and a 10 in the cupboard. So then when I kind of came to kind of school studying, I was into biology, chemistry. Even did a bit of home brewing when I was at school.
At school.
Well, obviously when you're 18, obviously. Right?
Obviously,
well,
yeah.
for the purposes of the pod, we'll say it was when I was 18. But see,
They
when
were
you're-
shocked. They were shocked at primary school. So that's why.
yeah,
What's that?
kinda
Poachine.
trying to stretch out your pocket money, like home brewing, was a good way to kind of stretch that out. But it kind of mixed results. So I kind of
Only one fatality. It's
Do you
good.
do you remember anything that was a particular success from that home brewing period when you were definitely 18?
I just used the Boots like syrup kits.
Okay.
So pretty
Okay.
easy to do.
Do they still sell those, or have they stopped doing that now?
Yeah, you can still do
I
them.
think there's still there. But while I was doing that, somebody gave me a camera book on home brewing. So it just talked about all the different like specialty malts, the flavour impact of yeast, hops, all that. So it really got my head into kind of beer flavour at the time. And then when I was picking university course, I saw the brewing and distilling degree at Heriot Watt. So I went to Bushmills, asked if they would sponsor me for the 3 years, and they did. So
Right.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I worked at Bushmills Christmas, Easter, summer for 3 years while I was studying.
Nice.
And that kind of set me on the kind of brewing and beer and whiskey
way.
course.
Yeah.
Kind of like an apprenticeship, kind of.
Yeah, so it was a great chance. You know, when you're studying, you can't always relate what you're doing to what
Yeah.
you'll do when you leave university. So I was very lucky that, you know, whatever I was learning at uni, within a month or two, I was putting it straight into practice. So
Yeah.
it was a great way of kind of bedding in that kind of all the theory and everything I was learning at the time. But saying that, I've probably forgotten a lot of it now because it feels like it was 20 odd years ago.
Yeah.
When did you move to Scotland then?
So after uni, I worked in beer for a couple of years. I worked at the Bass Brewery in Belfast. So it's probably the best known thing about the brewery was where Caffrey's started.
Yeah, Caffrey's, Savannah Caffrey's. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it still actually around? I mean, you can't buy in a pub anymore. In England.
Not proper Caffreys.
Don't
They dropped
think
it,
so.
didn't they?
Yeah. It kind of blew up volume wise, and they decided to switch it from Belfast to Birmingham.
Right.
And once they kind of took the Irish off it, it lost a lot of the traction and kind of started going downhill.
Caffrey's.
I remember
the same ring, is it?
going to the golf club with my dad, and it was 1995 because I remember because Blackburn won the league, and they just changed the Caffreys to the lower strength ABV, so it was something
Always a mistake.
75p a pint in the golf club. They had to get rid of their old stock, and it was like a family reunion. Just my dad's on the phone to everyone.
Get down here now at 75p.
75p.
I don't care how far away you are.
Yeah. So yeah, Caffrey's has always had a little special place for me.
Yeah.
That was
I had when we were going through school, so similar to not
homebrewing.
not homebrewing, but when we were going through school, I remember one of my friends would only drink Caffrey's. That was all he would drink at the time. We were like, it's such an old man drink. But
Yeah.
actually, to be fair to him, it's a lovely smooth drink. And
Pretty quick nights for him then.
Yeah. I hate to say it, Duncan, that means you're an old man.
what, me?
Yeah.
What, because I knew Caffrey's?
No, because you're saying it was an old man's drink at the time, and now you're like, it's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it is a good drink. Even at the
In a
time, I liked
turmoil
it.
with your teenage self.
But I didn't let on that I liked it because it wasn't seen to be cool, right? But I mean, when I had a little sip of his, I was like, "Oof, that is lovely, actually," and then immediately rib him and pass him the glass
Yeah.
back. Yeah,
I used to love a nice Caffrey shandy. If you used to work at a bar, you take all the fizz out of the lemonade and then just straight with the Caffreys on top. Not that I would drink on shift, but yeah, that was always nice.
shandy doesn't count. So what happened then, Michael?
So that was the Bass Breweries. They did Bass and Tennant's Lager, and I moved from 2004. I moved from Belfast to the Tennant's Brewery in Glasgow. So I worked there for a couple of years, and then 2007 I moved back into whiskey with Loch Lomond, and I've been with Loch Lomond now for kind of coming up on 17 years.
Of course, 17 years. Is that how long it is? Wow.
So the first kind of from 2007 to 2014, I was the warehouse manager. So really looking after the operational side of the kind of cask filling, cask emptying, cooperage, doing the blending for we did a lot of blend to third parties. So we supplied the likes of Glen Turner, did Label 5, so one of the biggest blends in France. Supplied pitters like William Peel blend, so we supplied I think 2 out of the top 10 blends in France.
And can I just check there? Did they say Henry or Omri?
They probably would have went with the Henri.
See, you could have made it stick. It's a decision
But I
you
think it would have
consciously
been
made.
Michel Henri.
Michel Henry.
Yeah, Michel Henry.
So you were doing a bit of blending, cooperage, warehouse management, and then where did you transition to do after that?
And then when the business changed ownership in 2014, we kind of changed the focus of the business from like the bulk blends to single malt. And that's really when I kind of started focusing on the single malt exclusively and trying to develop or establish the kind of 3 distilleries.
Yeah.
So out of the 3, kind of Glen Scotia and Little Mill were kind of known about. Loch Lomond didn't really have a presence or an awareness. So with Loch Lomond, it's
crazy to
really
think
starting from scratch.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
kinda
really
like,
cool. So you're probably coming out to that period now where you're seeing the fruits of your labour.
We're talking.
In those
We're using the word. It's the legacy word again, isn't it? Right.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
it is. Like,
Yeah,
I remember
it's,
watching a documentary about bourbon where he said, like, you make your perfect cask of bourbon as good as you can get it. You let it age like 10, 15 years, and then you take all the things you've learned, you put it into the next one. And you're only going to get, like, not to be morbid,
so you,
but you're only going to get 3 of those in your lifetime, really.
yeah, that's it. If you, like in a 50-year career in whiskey, you get 3 chances to get it right.
Yeah.
Right. How's it going?
So I'm
I'd say it's going pretty
happy-
well. It's going pretty well.
I'm happy with the way things are kind of coming round with Loch Lomond, but we're still kind of early days for us.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's a long-term kind of journey to
Yeah.
kind of turn the it's that kind of change in direction on an oil tanker. It's,
Yeah.
it will take, it's been nearly 10 years now. It'll take at least the same to kind of build that awareness, build that trust with people. And no matter what you're doing with whiskey, you're asking people to give you their money for something that isn't a necessity.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always a luxury
So,
item.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no matter whether it's a standard 3-year-old blend or it's a kind of 50-year-old single malt,
Yeah. It's all a luxury.
it means the same to the people that are buying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Well, I think it's probably a good idea to get involved with the open stuff. So, yeah, I mean, is that something you're going to look to do elsewhere, other sporting things? Is that kind of
And I think
beneficial, or is it?
we did do some work with rugby last year. I think the golf's been the most successful for us. We do have tie-ups with Scottish football with kind of Glen's vodka. But the whiskey wise, the open partnership's working really well for us.
Yeah.
The overlap between golf and whiskey, they're both very Scottish.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's not really a demanding sport, is it? You can easily play it once you've had like 5, 6, 7 grams. I mean, it's
Probably better after
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
first 2.
And it
just steadies the hands.
No,
a bit.
it's huge numbers. Like you look at the participation numbers for golf, it's ridiculous. Like worldwide, what the number of people playing golf.
Yeah, it's a huge sport, isn't it? Yeah.
So
And it's
it
great. It's
has
growing really fast as well in like Asia as well.
Yeah, and if you look at where we want to sell our whiskies, like Europe, Asia, South Africa, Australia, US, there's a very
America.
kind of strong overlap with kind of where golf's popular and where we want to kind
It
of
goes.
whiskey's
Golf
popular.
goes hand in hand with like leather chairs, cigars.
So did I-
House after? Yeah.
Did I miss the Donald Trump Loch Lomond edition, or he's quite a golf guy, and he's got a lot of Scottish ties.
Loch Lomond great again.
That didn't happen. I take it. No.
No.
Oh, okay. I can't say I'm surprised. So we thought to have a bit of you're going to talk about 3 subjects today. Before we get into those subjects, and those subjects for listeners are grain, whiskey, the flavour, how much flavour you get out of Irish whiskey, and also the famous and now also infamous Sassenach, the Sassenach. So before we get into those, Michael said he would quite like to do Pudding Island Drams, which is a previous episode which we went through. And Mike and I have also got a really daft business idea just to talk to you about, but we can do that any time during the pod. Yeah, let's say daft. It's absolutely serious. If you want to back it, you can. Right. So we actually got two. I might as well just go for both of them. So the Pudding Island Drams. Do you remember the concept? So the concept is you're going to an island for 30 days, not forever because that would be depressing. So you've got 30 days on an island. You get one dram that you can have whilst you're there. You know, a bottle of or unlimited, depending on how much you want to drink. One pudding, one album to listen to, or one choice of music, and who is going to pick you up after 30 days to take you back home. So where do you want to start, Michael?
We'll start with the pudding's the easy one.
It's the easy one. Okay, go on then.
Yeah. So for pudding, it'll be my apple crumble.
Your own?
Bit of crumble.
Yeah. I start off. I have a recipe that originally came from the Bible of cooking.
Okay.
Okay.
So it was Delia Smith Complete Cooking.
Oh yeah, Delia Smith. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I was.
Let's
brought
be
up
having
with,
ya.
Kind of Delia Smith cooking every Sunday.
Yeah, actually, I had a friend that had that book, and I've read that book. I don't own it, but I've read it around there.
It was weird that she had mustard in everything. Coleman's mustard.
Not in the apple pie, surely. Apple crumble.
So I've kind of tweaked the apple pie recipe, so apple crumble.
Crumble,
recipe.
yeah, crumble. Let's be clear.
So up the butter jumbo oats.
You up the butter.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Jumbo oats.
Who's that chef on Sundays?
It's got to be Kavanagh jumbo oats, surely.
There's one kind of Irish company that seems to make all the jumbo oats for everything.
Who's that chef that used to be on Sundays? Who just used to chuck extra butter and everything? James something. He was on like Sunday.
James Martin.
Yeah, like James Martin just used to just go extra butter all the time.
Yeah, I think you'll find he's a Saturday morning, Duncan.
Is it now? Was it ever Sunday?
Well, Saturday morning kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was Saturday morning kitchen. Maybe I watched.
You're
it on
confusing
Sunday.
it with Sunday brunch.
Right. Okay. So large oats, extra butter. What else?
When you're cutting the apple, kind of vary the size so it gives you a different texture. It gives you that kind of smooth with like crunchy bits through
Oh,
it.
so you do like
This
cooking.
is an insight into your mind.
And then I do add a healthy amount of like whiskey to it. So
Okay.
Inchmurrin 12 is the perfect whiskey for apple crumble.
So it's
And
it's
if you want to kind of raise it again, you've kind of options like raspberries, blackberries. If you want to kind of mix it up a bit.
so different sized apples, extra butter, large oats, and a huge splash of Inchmurrin 12
Yeah.
to make your crumble really pop.
And then a healthy amount of Demerara sugar on top.
Yeah. And then presumably custard or ice cream, depending on the time of the year.
Custard.
Always custard.
Yeah.
Always.
Even today.
Don't talk crazy, Duncan.
Even when it's 27 degrees, still custard.
Always custard.
If it's hot outside, it just means you don't have to, it's like saving money on heating. You can just hold it outside and heat it up slowly.
Okay, that does actually sound really good. Yeah, that sounds good. My mum used to make a lot of crumble, so I do love crumble.
She didn't put Inchmurrin 12 in it, did she?
No, it didn't sound it wasn't that good. If mum's listening, it was still adequate. Thank you. You can make crumble with everything. Banana, you sit bananas in there to make crumble. You can basically crumble anything. Like
So
it's
as
like
long as you get that topping right, you nail the topping, then
You're away, aren't
everything
you?
Goes with it.
yeah. Crumble is like a key part of most Sundays around a lot of households. So what do you want to do next? Do you want to do the album or the whiskey next?
Album probably easier than the whiskey.
Yeah. Okay.
So the couple of contenders for the album, In Excess, Kick.
Right.
One.
Okay. Yeah.
Kind of Alice in Chains, Dirt.
Okay. Yeah. So you're a rock fan, really,
I've
like a classic rock fan.
Gone with Pearl Jam 10.
Oh, okay.
You look at the track listing on that, Alive, Jeremy.
Yeah. That whole vocal note is just the best. It's like that led to Creed, it led to that whole era of people trying to copy that sound of
Yeah.
vocals.
He's a good singer, isn't he? I actually saw
Eddie
Pearl
Vedder.
Jam. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we saw Pearl Jam recently at Hyde Park, and they played all the classics. I think it was like last year or something.
No way.
Yeah, I mean, they played 2 nights, I think, in a row. And I am a Pearl Jam fan, but I did feel like they just soloed too much to nowhere. That was the only downside of it being live. I say that as somebody that likes Pearl Jam. So it was about 2.5 hours to 3 hours. But my main observation was I'm a fan, but I'm not like to my death a fan, right?
Yeah.
I just like Pearl Jam. I'm not going to get a tattoo. You know, it wouldn't be the... So my point was, people were going absolutely nuts. I mean, they were losing their minds.
Yeah.
The dedication from the fan base is insane. And is that where you are, Michael? Were you there? So were you one of the people like who'd lost control of their body?
I probably could have been if it was there. Okay.
Right.
You what was it, a couple of pods back? You talked about, you know, the music that you end up listening to. Kind of your music tastes are pretty fixed from kind of when you're kind of around 15.
Yeah.
And that tends to be what sticks with you through the rest of your life. And that kind of Pearl Jam, Alice in
Faith
Chains,
No More,
Soundgarden,
Post-grunge, rock.
that sort of rocks, kind of enjoy other types rock music in general. That goes on, then that kind of lifts. That's me reaching for the sound or the volume.
Yeah, turn it up, crank it up. Yeah.
Head out the window of the car, just like,
Yeah. Do you put music on when you're working during the day, or do are you like one of those people that just really focuses?
No, see, it's not that I wouldn't, but it's just with the offices around, it's people in and out all the time, so it's kind of the music's for the car home. I work with a 35-mile drive each way to work.
It's not that bad. Perfect amount.
Best part of an hour each way.
Oh, a little far.
So, it gives me a kind of chance to kind of switch. Well, waking up in the mornings and switch off in the evenings.
Yeah. That's true.
So, like pods, music,
Thinking time.
a good time to kind of chill.
see, I moan about my commute that's like an hour and a half, but I'm on trains and I don't have to think.
Yeah, you
Still
probably
being
just
in the
sleep.
car for an hour. I don't sleep, but yeah, that's a long haul trek, an hour drive each way.
I think the perfect commute's about 45 minutes. That's enough time to sort of like you said, wake up or decompress or whatever, listen to something, do something. An hour's about the absolute limit.
On your Vespa, 45 minutes, you could probably get 5 miles, I reckon.
Yeah, I
It's
could do.
handy.
Yeah, I love that Vespa. Thanks, Mike. What about that? So this is the big one then. So far you've got your own homemade apple crumble, and listeners couldn't see, but Michael was brushing his own shoulder off. And then you went with Pearl Jam 10, right? Which is a classic album. So what whiskey would you choose for your island experience then?
So there's kind of two that I'm thinking about. One of them's my favourite whiskey to drink. So it's probably Redbreast 12 cask strength. I think I'm going to have to go with a Glenfiddich 12. from,
Really?
Island Dram.
Really?
Wow. Okay.
It's going to be by myself for a month. So
Yeah.
I'm picking the whiskey that I've probably drunk most with my friends,
Yeah.
my family. So it's, part of it, how the flavour of the whiskey's a big part of it, but it's also kind of who you're drinking with and what your memories are at that time.
Yeah.
So that way I've gone with Glenfiddich 12 because that's like takes me back to like watching the Heineken Cup with my dad and his friends, and every time like an Irish team won, like they'd bring out the
Glenfiddich 12.
single malt.
That must have been every year. From my memory, anyway.
Yeah.
There was a good stretch in the early 2000s, but we kind of, there's the hand of Neil Back that kind of Leicester kind of won that one, and then after that we had a good run with Munster.
Yeah.
So that was it's those kind of memories. If I'm sitting in the middle of an ocean by myself, it's
Yeah.
kind of the whiskey's just bringing back those memories.
There might be some animals to keep you company or something like that. I'm sure you could befriend like a local boar or something. I don't know. It's only 30 days. But look, it's a great whiskey, isn't it? I mean, you can't. It's in the sense, great's an overused word, but it is got its own flavour. It's got a very nice, easygoing flavour profile, and we've all drunk a lot of it over the years. I suspect. I certainly have.
If you think how many blends have come and gone over
It's
the
always
years,
at people's houses, isn't it? Always.
it takes for them to still be a household name and everywhere. You got to take your hat off to them.
Yeah, there's a reason that it is a big name.
Yeah.
And it's been a big name for kind of 30, 40 years. So that's why it's kind of that, it's the other side of whiskey. It's that evocative side of whiskey that it takes you back to kind of times you're celebrating with friends and family.
Yeah, for sure. The most successful sort of homemade blend bottle I made, I think, was probably about a third Glenfiddich 12. It gave it a good base. And then from there, it was hard to make it go wrong, really. Yeah. So, who's going to pick you up then from this island and take you home? But how are you going to get back? Because we've had people just say people. Some people just go, my mum or my partner. That's fine. But
Sell out.
the vehicle, yeah, the vehicle is also up for grabs.
Well, that kind of makes it a little easier. The person I would have picking me up is Joey Dunlop.
Oh yeah, okay, classic.
Because I grew up in Portstewart, and Portstewart's part of the Northwest 200 road racing circuit.
Yep.
So I grew up every May. My dad would take me down, and we'd be standing 6 foot from the road as 40 super bikes just kind of blew you away.
Yeah, and on those slightly bumpy roads as well, it's breathtaking.
Yeah, it's roads you'd struggle to drive 60 miles an hour on them.
Yeah,
And
I watch a lot of that stuff. I know
These
what you're
bikes
talking
are
about.
hitting last time I watched it, I think the fastest through the speed trap was 216 miles an hour on a public road. It's just kind of madness, and when you're standing watching it, the sound, the smell, the wall of sound as the bikes pass you, it's an amazing thing to watch and experience.
Do you ever ride yourself, or is it something you just as a spectator you've enjoyed?
I think if I ever tried a bike, my mum would have killed me.
Right.
Yeah.
But still, you still got the enjoyment from going and watching it, right?
Yeah.
That's still motorsport's good fun.
I'm not into kind of watching bikes on TV, and it's very much kind of seeing it live and being there at home.
Yeah.
So when I was growing up, Joey Dunlop was the kind of
Superstar.
He was the big rider at the time, and kind of my sister lives in the Isle of Man, so I was seeing
TT.
all the kind of TT. I was there this year when the kind of warm ups were going on for the TT. So again, Joey was big on the island, king of the roads.
Yeah.
So I think I had originally thought it would be a speedboat, so I thought Joey Dunlop driving a speedboat, pretty
exciting.
Pretty exciting way home. But if you're opening up,
You're not making it home.
if you're opening up the mode of transport, kind of a backie on his motorbike.
Oh, he could
home.
take you back on a jet ski. That's totally possible, couldn't he? You could just jet ski it all the way back. Yeah.
You can get a ferry, jump on his bike, and then he can take you home from there.
So that would be, I think, just Joey Dunlop one hell of a journey home.
Yeah.
On those super bikes, in terms of engine noise, I've never seen them live.
They're definitely.
When I saw F1 over in Singapore, you could hear them from miles away, absolutely miles away, loud.
Was that pre-turbo?
sounds.
Was that pre-turbo or post-turbo?
What are we looking at? Probably 2008 period.
I
don't know.
think that's pre the turbo introduction. So that's when they were still V10 or V12s, whatever it is, where they were deafening. When the turbo came in, they got quieter, and you had the kind of turbo noise coming in.
We would come near, and you could tell each the Renaults had a weird as they kicked down gears, it sounded like someone had thrown a spanner into the engine. It sounded awful. And it the noise was just unbelievable, but just pumped you up. I was never really hugely into F1 until I saw it and saw it live.
Everyone should experience live motorsport from whether it's like you said, it's like road racing, or could even be
But
track
are their
stuff.
super bikes the same feel and energy and noise?
I think they actually sound because the super bikes have not been they haven't turboed them up. They're still they've got electronics on them obviously, but they're still raw. Whereas the F1 cars are really super futuristic now already. So they're loud, but they're already running like hybrid engines and things like that. They're not running hybrid motorbike. There are e-bikes, I think, but they're not running hybrid motorbikes. It's just pure natural engines with some electronics to stop them from falling off.
Being on a country lane basically and seeing these bikes just fly past the
I think
noise and everything else.
That's part of it. You're so close to it. Like any kind of circuit racing, you're always a safe distance away.
Yeah.
But with road racing, you're kind of right on the.
Yeah, it's like rallying. It's like rallying when you go to watch rallying as well, and you just stand by the track, right? And the cars are like 6 feet away from you, like you said, and it's just exhilarating.
Imagine it like, and then Duncan on his Vespa chasing.
You've got to have some serious skills to do that stuff. Hats off to all of them, and you have to be super brave as well. So, thanks for sharing that. So nice. So you've gone apple crumble, homemade apple crumble. You've gone Glenfiddich 12. You've gone for Pearl Jam Alive, and you're getting picked up by Joey Dunlop, right?
Yep, love it. That's it.
Love it. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Michael. So we had a couple of. Did you ever watch Dragon's Den at all? You ever seen it or
not for a while?
But you're aware of the series.
I did used to watch it, so kind of know like Peter Jones and Deborah Meaden.
Well, you're tall, aren't you? So I presume you want to be Peter Jones.
Yeah, I'll probably. I would take his height, but I would love his money.
Yeah. Well, speaking about money, don't be tight because we've got an excellent business idea to pitch you. So we came up with 2 today. We're not going to pretend to come out of the lift and all that kind of stuff. Just haven't enough time to prep it. But so idea number 1, Peter, is we want to take scale up a worm tub to turn it into a roller coaster. What do you reckon?
I would have to say I'm out.
You're out already. You don't even know the financials. Could be good.
No, because straight away the thing you can do with that is turn it into a flume ride.
Flume it. Yeah. So like a water park. Yeah. So we'd scale up. Which worm tub distillery do you think is people's favourite? Like if we were to turn it into like a flume they could ride around.
Probably, I would have to say Talisker, just on.
Yeah.
Kind of when you say worm tubs, you think Talisker.
Right. So if Diageo launch a water park with a scaled up version of their worm tub as a water flume ride.
Yeah, well, you're on the island in Skye, so you're kind of there already with the water.
Yeah.
It's going to be salty. It's going to be salty, that's for sure. But I'm just saying, if they do it, just remember this is where it came up. We came over here today, right? And the next one is chocolate inserts for Glen Cairns. So you have like your own little insert which comes in a packet, and you can put them in the fridge, and then it fits inside the glass exactly, which in itself is a bit of a problem because of the shape of a Glencairn, obviously. But we'll figure it out how to get it in there. You just take them out, you pop it in your glass. It's exactly the size, fits in the glass. You drink the whiskey out of the chocolate, which is inside your glass. Then afterwards you can take the chocolate out and eat it, which has the flavour of the whiskey. What say you, Peter Jones?
Interested.
You're interested. Now we're talking. Now we're talking.
So whiskey and chocolate's definitely my kind of language.
Yeah, definitely. Right.
So you have me reaching for my money. So.
All right. Okay. Well, I think we just need what do they always ask for? They always ask for like 50 grand, don't they? 50 grand for 2%. There you go. And you'll get a return sometime in about 50 years. That one. That could be really good. But
is that a food pairing you go to a lot then? Because I always find bourbons work so well with some like dark chocolate with a bit of like salted caramel sort of within it.
Probably, I would go bourbon and milk chocolate.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. A bourbon works really well with a milk chocolate, a milkshake. You know, like
dark chocolate. I think peat goes really well with dark chocolate. What I've been drinking a lot of is I'll have to go on brand for this, but the Noble Rebel Smoke Symphony.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With Lindt dark chocolate with raspberry chunks in it.
Oh, that good, is
with
it?
the Rioja finish smoke is magic.
That does sound good. Is that an Easter egg left over, or is that just a bar of Lindt with raspberry?
Just a bar of Lindt chocolate.
We have to obviously say other chocolates are available, but Lindt's a good
they're
one.
not as good and they don't work. But yeah,
No.
Probably the best chocolate pairing I've had was Nika coffee malt with milk chocolate with the crispy, crunchy bits in it.
Crispy, crunchy bits.
Like the sort of like Rice Krispie type bits in it.
No, the kind of honeycomb.
Honeycomb.
Through it.
Like a posh crunchy bar.
Yeah, so not like a solid crunchy, but the broken up bits through
Fleckles.
it.
It has fleckles
Yeah.
of honeycomb throughout it. I love, because we're talking about chocolate now, but we obviously can't go. So I love just the classic kind of sea salt. When you get it's not dark chocolate, it's not milk chocolate, somewhere in between. I always think the sea salt one goes amazingly well with whiskey, whether it's peated or whatever. It doesn't really matter which whiskey. And beyond that, I agree. Like super dark chocolate goes well with peated whiskey, and I think white chocolate is just a little difficult to pair with most things. It's a bit too sweet, isn't it?
I think it is that sweetness. It's challenging. It is that bit too sweet.
Bit too sweet.
Most things.
It's sweet and fat, isn't it? There's no real content to white chocolate, sadly.
Yeah. You get the other one. I wouldn't get like mint chocolate. It's more to kind of clear your palate or something. But definitely the salted one. And I try not
Chili?
to buy. Yeah, chili's alright, but I try not to buy the ones that have like caramel in them or anything like that because I'm just going to smash it. Like it has to be something that I enjoy that I can eat sensibly. Otherwise, I'll just eat half the bar in an evening.
I get the Lindt salted caramel on the Amazon subscribe and save once a month.
I think I'd probably
Get in
smash
there
that.
straight away, hide it from Lara, sneak it away somewhere in the house, and then just have like a little,
And then you just got it smudged around your face a bit.
just
It's
a
like,
massive block.
what's that on your face? I don't know. I don't know what that is. Is that chocolate? No, it isn't chocolate. No. Right. So, Michael, we've been looking forward to you taking us through grain. So we're going to call this granular on grain. So over to you to open our minds to the world of grain. And yeah.
Well, if you kind of look at some of the recent releases in Scotch whisky, probably the one that comes to mind most is Inchdarney's Rye Law.
Right.
Yeah, going back in time, you've the Arbiki rye, and even have Kinninvie did a rye-based grain, and they did a blend with the kind of the rye grain and their own single malt.
Yeah.
So the idea is kind of been incubating within Scotch
Right.
now, and we're now hitting a point where kind of Inchdarney are really raising the profile of grain whiskey and building that credibility. It kind of comes along if you look at Loch Lomond's grain whiskies. We're making our grain whiskey from malted barley.
Yep.
So we've two distilleries that are coming out with pretty solid grain releases. It's all about the kind of more about the kind of mash bills, and it's taken that from kind of probably bourbon, bringing that kind of bourbon or Irish pot still influence in.
So how would you explain to people that drink whiskey but don't understand too much about it? Obviously, you've got different types of grain, and the most popular is barley, malted barley, right? So in this, when you say it's grain but it's also malted barley, can you explain then what's the difference? How does it get categorized in therefore as grain?
So the way that Scotch whisky is categorized for something to be called a single malt, it needs to be made from 100% malted barley, distilled in a pot still by batch distillation. So it's three criteria you need to meet. So all malted barley, pot still, and batch distillation.
Yeah.
If you vary from any one of those, what you've got is a single grain.
Yeah.
So if you use continuous distillation in a pot still with 100% malted barley, it's a single grain.
So these ones that you released recently, like the Mizrana cask finish one, I think I had a bottle of that. Very good, very tasty, I should say. And that was that was a grain, but
So that
malted
was
barley.
Single grain malted barley distilled in a continuous still.
Okay. And so what's the difference then? Oh, again, this is one of our nerdiest episodes so far. So props to us. We're running up our sleeves. So what's the difference then between the continuous still and the pot still then?
Yeah, so it's about how selective the still is in terms of the flavour that it allows into the new make spirit.
Okay.
So if you think that a Swan Neck still that your kind of normal everyday Scotch malt distillery has, it kind of allows quite a lot of flavour through into the new make. It's quite a broad kind of range of flavours through. And to pick out different flavours, you change your cut points.
Yeah.
With that. With the continuous still, you've much more precise control over the kind of what's coming into the new make spirit. You've much greater separation through the column.
Okay.
So you're able to pick out more easily where the flavours that you want are coming through.
Yeah. And is it when people are buying these whiskies and they see, so they're not all gonna, this thing, in terms of the cask, often it just say, well, it's just a bourbon cask, right, an ex-bourbon cask. So they don't always say what type of still is used. But I've noticed with Loch Lomond, you particularly are saying often what type of still has been used.
Yeah, it's something we've kind of struggled with in that we're looking to, the way Scotch whisky is just now, people are very much more comfortable talking about casks and the maturation side. People have a really good understanding of like what type of casks there are and how that impacts the whisky. People who drink whisky generally aren't as aware of the impact that distillation has, so that's something we're trying to build that awareness on.
Yeah,
and it's something that we're kind of have a different approach to flavour in that at Loch Lomond we're kind of look to create as much flavour as we can through how we distill rather than the wood.
So that's where I don't know where Mike is on this, but that's where I put myself. Exactly what you said is where I am as a person. And I feel like you guys are helping me to start to learn more about, that kind of impact on the spirit.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're right, super comfortable around casks, pretty comfortable generally around kind of regional differences and, distillery differences to a degree, even country differences. You mentioned rye earlier, didn't you?
Yeah.
And that last Somerton release was a Stauning. I'm sure that's rye. And I have to say it's fantastic. They've set out to achieve a flavour profile, which is kind of what you do, isn't it? They set out to achieve like heather, a lot of heather in there, the smoke of the bonfire and the honey and the fruit.
And that's something that
they work
we
backwards.
Do with, we kind of, our kind of signature kind of flavour profile at Loch Lomond's fruity, sweet and soft smoke. The fruit comes from the yeast, the stills. The sweetness is from kind of having that all-American oak maturation.
Yeah.
And then the soft smokes from the straight neck pot stills. So, if we want to do anything, we start with like picking one of those three. So
you should work in the marketing team, exactly as you just said it. It's as it should be communicated to people.
Yeah,
you literally just explained it so clearly in that little segment there.
And you'd be shocked how much time I spend with the marketing team.
Okay.
Kind of probably about at least a third of my week is spent with them.
Yeah.
And if you look at the back label of a whiskey bottle,
the
text, every single word counts on that.
I suppose they mull over everything.
Yeah, that's probably about 10, 12 drafts to get that text right.
Yeah, you have to write exactly what you want in the shortest amount of words possible, don't you? Sorry,
and it's not even just that; it has to be translatable. So you have to be aware of your English and it'll go into like French, German, Japanese, Chinese. So it's being very kind of clear and saying what you want in the kind of simplest terms, but still trying to get what can be a very kind of complex idea across.
Yeah, I definitely like it when bottles do give you the extra information and also give you like a guidance around what you're going to expect in tasting notes. I think that's a good thing. So what else are you excited about in grain? So you've got these different stills.
Yeah,
right?
so it's the stills. So the big thing about the stills is that you can use different grains with them, so different cereals. So you don't just have to use malted barley. You can use rye, oats. What we've been doing at Loch Lomond, we've ran a series of trials with oats, rye, and unmalted barley.
Right.
So that's kind of barley as it kind of comes off the field. And you get great impact on the flavour with different mash bills. But because they're grain whiskies, you can release, they're ready to drink kind of after 4 or 5 years. So
do you think that because grain has a not so positive label generally from all of the older grains, right?
And that's really, the older grains were made for blending, so they were light character, and they only really were released when they're high age, when they've had a lot of chance to pick up flavour from the oak.
Yeah, and they're often quite sweet as well. Yeah.
So
Well, that's it. Because on the face of it, what you're saying is that you, as the creator of this liquid, essentially can garnish more control from the continuous stills and that process than you can from old-fashioned distillation.
yeah, so we can get a broader range of flavours by using different cereals. So we've more flavour potential from the grains that we're using. We can target the flavours with more control over the flavours that we take into the new make.
So you can be
Through
more
using
confident
this-
that you're going to get the flavour you want come through in that new make, right?
Yeah. So we're more confident in the flavour we're getting, and importantly, that whiskey's ready to drink sooner, so we can get it into people's hands in kind of 4 or 5 years, rather than with single malt you're really looking at 10 years.
So, like, industry question here: do you think, because there's this huge hangover around grain and the connotations around it, and it's maybe very slowly changing, but it's only slowly, in my opinion, anyway, it's only slowly changing. You guys are doing some great work, but it's only slowly changing even in like the super whiskey nerdy community, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to take even longer to get out into the general consumers, or maybe they don't care. Do you think maybe it needs to have a different word for describing these young, grain whiskies that are very exciting?
Yeah, I think it's probably more the terminology that distillers use around them. If you think about how popular or the growth of bourbon and the awareness around bourbon and mash bills,
Yeah.
a lot of it is for Scotch grain. It'll be using terminology that people are familiar with, that they're comfortable with, so that's an easy switch to go from bourbon into Scotch grain whiskey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like it's celebrated in bourbon. Like, do you know what I mean? They're not hiding anything. The mash bills are there.
They love the fact it's young as well.
It's
Like,
young. It's
they're like if it's 8 years old, they're like it's old.
oh, it's America. It's ready to fight anything. Yeah, it's young. It's gonna
Yeah,
Whereas,
70%. It'll rip your face
They're-
off.
They'll talk about different yeast strains. They'll talk about their different mash bills. Their high corns, high ryes. There's a lot more kind of awareness there that Scotch whiskey can tap into.
So who do you think's doing the most exciting stuff in that space at the moment? Obviously, other than yourselves, right? He's brushing his shoulder off again just for listeners at home. But other than yourselves, who else is doing the most exciting stuff?
In Scotch, it would be Inchdarney.
Yeah, Inchdarney, yeah. And then
It's
like
what they're doing with kind of rye, oats. I think they're thinking the whole process through, so they're looking at they're going down to the kind of variety of the grains they're using. They're looking at the yeast they're using, the stills. So they're doing a pretty solid job of looking at the whole process.
don't say terroir.
does that? No, you're like no.
In
Hey, it's important to know where those oats came from specifically.
in Irish, like you had Powers have done a 100% rye mash
Yes,
bill.
with that menthol note running through it.
Yeah, that kind of, I loved that, and it was what, £35 a bottle.
They also have great branding, don't they, Powers?
Yeah. So kind of the price, the bigger distillers, the bigger the distiller, the more able they are to get the pricing more accessible. Probably the weakness for me on the Inchtarnies, the price was over 100
It's a bit
for the
pricey.
Rylaw. Where Powers got it right was like £35. That's a no-brainer.
I think the brands that are smashing it for me, if you look at Baines whiskey, their grain is 24 quid.
Yeah,
I know they got a different climate and stuff, but yeah, I love Baines.
the texture in that beans, so that kind of, it's like a butteriness to it, like this really light kind of, not quite oiliness, but just really mouth coating, full of flavour, and like I say, £24 a bottle. It's
Sounds like that would go well in a crumble, doesn't it? Probably.
Yeah. I think anyone I've put onto that stuff has gone, God, I love this. Like, what? Tell me more about it. And you're like, it's grain. It's a
Buy
grain
it.
whiskey. There you go.
There
I've
you
got the
go.
original. That's the original. Nice. That's the higher ABV. You've done well. Yeah. And then what's the other one? Cheetah. I've got a decent grain.
Cheetah.
Yeah.
the
CHIT.
Japanese.
Oh, yeah, cheetah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably Ben Nevis grain. But
No,
I don't know.
people often talk about using that in highballs, don't they, and things like that. So
Yeah, but that's now, again, I looked at that today because someone texted me for a whiskey recommendation. I was like,
yeah,
I think it's something different, and then looked at it, and it's gone up to like 50 odd quid. I was like, oh, nope, done.
Silly money.
That's that.
No, because
Like,
I think it is a kind of traditional made grain. So I don't know if it's made from maize, but it's just a normal kind of blending grain.
we also on the rye thing, we had that the other Summerton release, one from Canada, that Black Fox Distillery, Mike, didn't we?
Yeah.
And that was those guys in the middle of that farm
They're maturing outside.
outside, and they were it tasted like in between a bourbon and a rye. It was totally bonkers. Like, and they were using, what was it, Triticale?
I'm not even going to. I want to say
Triticale.
Triticale.
It could be that, yeah.
Yeah.
And they were really into the crop.
Question. So on the grain front, obviously we've talked about bourbon already. Do you think it would be possible to basically make a Scotch bourbon based off the US mash bill and use New Oak?
We talked about this before, didn't we? I think
Because I think
Yeah, it's
third business idea on the pod.
bourbon in a new cask, I know it takes a lot of stuff out of the wood, but I'd love to see what bourbon will be like, or that American mash bill in a cooler climate with longer time.
Longer time, like 10 years to 15, like not like forever.
I'm not saying you're onto your second best ever whiskey, but
Yeah, I think the thing about Scotch whiskey is that distillers are allowed quite a reasonable amount of room for kind of flavour development and innovation, but it still needs to have a Scotch identity to it.
Oh, so you're saying that it wouldn't pass the laws?
the SWA wouldn't let it.
No, I think they would let it as it's being matured in Scotland, so the climate would have an impact on it.
Can you just still call
But
it
it's
bourbon?
more
Yeah, Scotch
not
bourbon.
in Scotland.
Scottish
You're-
bourbon.
We're only allowed to make Scotch whiskey in Scotland,
But there was that.
so you could distill it here. You'd have to then
I'm gonna
send it
go.
down to England to bottle.
Michael
Okay.
Henry's Highland bourbon. It's there
Yeah,
with a French label,
Yeah.
French and French fried bourbon.
blend it. Excellent. So, Irish whiskey then, and the flavour in Irish whiskey. Talk to us about Irish whiskey. I don't know that much about it. Like, obviously, I've tried a bunch of them, but I just don't know a lot. So, Sell me on why I should be transitioning from Scotch to Irish whiskey.
Apart from Loch Lomond, obviously.
Yeah, obviously, apart from Scotch.
The big thing that kind of sets Irish whiskey from Scotch is single pot still.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about like Redbreast, Powers, John's Lane, and it's that kind of what we've fallen on from what we've talked about with single grains. It's that kind of mash bill type. It's that use of unmalted barley really adds a huge amount of kind of texture and spice to
Right.
mixed spirit.
So it's that texture and the extra
Yeah.
spiciness that you like.
It's that kind of texture, that creaminess, the spice.
I was going to say, is that
creaminess
'cause
is a
it's
thing.
always the cream sort of like shortbread biscuit note that you get through it.
Yeah.
And I think if you imagine just that barley, if you was to squish it yourself, it's going to release all this like white fat.
Yeah,
stuff
and
coming out through it.
it's that unmalted barley really gives you that kind of biscuity,
Okay.
kind of malty note, and that kind of you can taste it through like all kind of single pot stills, and then when single pots are used in blending, you get that kind of texture in the blend as well. So like Irish whiskey, there's at the minute the prices are being pushed up just because there's a huge demand there and not a lot of stock.
We try not to talk about price on the pod because it's just like it's it ends up being it's this
God
it's
bless America.
you know what we're saying, like if you end up, it's like we just spend all the time talking about how prices are going up, and that's everything's going up. Butter, margarine.
Irish has got that premium though because
Yeah.
the US want everything.
We like to be passionate about like the whiskey, the product. It's
but
great
what
hearing you talk about the process.
is coming through is that we're now hitting kind of 5 years for a lot of the new Irish distilleries coming through.
Yep.
So the availability on Irish whiskey on like single pots and kind of a lot of mash bill variation, like that's going to start hitting the shelves in the next few years. So we'll see that kind of flavour, hopefully with a softening of price.
So if you were doing a flight then for somebody who didn't really know much about Irish whiskey, but they're a whiskey drinker. What I mean is they like
You're a
to drink,
Scotch drinker.
Yeah, well, they like to drink cask strength. They like to, they not just cask strength, but that whole range. So they drink quite a lot of whiskey, but they're not know much about Irish whiskey. If you're putting a flight together, what would you put together for them then to show them all this flavour that you're talking about? That
I would start with the blends, because I think Irish blends are kind of, that's where I'm kind of have most of my kind of blends are Irish, and you some kind of amazing whiskey for kind of not a lot of money. A lot of them you'll see on the likes of Amazon around the £20-25 mark.
yeah.
Like Jameson Black Barrel, Powers Director's Cut.
Yeah, Black Barrel.
I love the Pogues. Did you see the Pogue? Have you tried that? The Pogues release?
I've seen it, but I haven't tried it.
I've not tried it either.
I was a few in, but it was all right.
So you start a flight with those, and you get those kind of honey texture, vanilla notes with those blends. And when we're doing like the blind tasting, my calibrator's usually a Powers Director's Cut.
To sort of find your
Yeah.
scent to yourself.
So Irish blends, say 1 or 2 blends to start off with, and then go into like a John's Lane's 12,
Oh,
Redbreast, and then into the Redbreast 12 cask strength. So that's like 3 or 4 whiskies, and
just to send to yourself.
I like Redbreast. I mean, the stout.
I love
12 cask strength.
Redbreast.
Yeah, they're
I
very
haven't
good.
tried the Lestau one, to be fair.
It's very good. I mean, it's got more like orangey notes in it.
I'd kick myself now. When I first got into whiskey, I remember you could get Redbreast 12 from Sainsbury's for 21 quid. And you're like, I'll look over that. And now I'm like, you idiot.
You should have been one of those people when they come around to your house and like you open up a cupboard and it's just full of like that bottle. Like,
Just
and you've got
open
like
it. There's robins flying out just
Yeah.
straight away. Like,
you've got like 50 bottles in the cupboard.
bird feeders everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I'd done that at some point. Just, you know, like something that I really love. Just bought loads of it just to have for years. But you just don't think like that, do you? No one ever expected the prices to, you know, to
I did.
rapidly.
I found my favourite ever whiskey.
Yeah.
And I tried to buy as much as I can. And Michael's laughing because he knows what it is. It's the Inchmuir Chardonnay yeast. I can't remember
right.
the cask number was like
5837.
Yeah. I just
Yeah,
now and again
it's-
message to like put a bit of pressure on to like
That's
remake
my
this.
kind of lampable dram.
Oh, your lampable dram. Okay, yeah.
I have a kind of I was presented with a lamp from that bottle.
We will be doing the
it's,
lamp. We will be doing the
John
lamp
and
awards. at some
Brian.
point.
I think
I've got
organised that
I've
for
got
me.
I've got about a quarter of a bottle left open, and then I'm down to my last one, which you signed.
Hey, that's actually
I'll open that and tag you in it very shortly because it's going to be a sad day when that goes.
That's probably a good transition. I mean, so it's probably a good transition as well. I mean, I'm happy to talk about Irish whiskey more, but talking about the lampable drams, we could also. It's a good segue to move on to talk about the Sassenach if you want to. But we're also open to hear anything else that you'd like to. Because the thing is, I thought the flight that you said was really
Did we
interesting.
finish the lineup? Did we finish the flight?
Well,
Um,
Michael had
Well,
said start with something like a couple of blends, like Black Barrel, then move on to like Powers, right?
yeah, the Powers John's Dean 12.
That's it.
And then the Redbreast 12 cast strength.
Yeah.
Probably finish with like a Method of Madness.
Yes, even I've tried
Just
I've tried
kinda
one or two Method of Madness.
Any of those.
Chestnut cask.
Is that
The
good? Is it?
original chestnut cask. I can't remember the guy's name. It's another Michael yet again. I was over in Dublin and he was like, "This has just come in, try it." And I was like, "What is that?" And even the stuff they've made since is nowhere near batch one, but it was beautiful. I love Method of Madness. They're trying some crazy things, obviously, as the name suggests.
So if you tried any, have you got any fond Method of Madness releases then, Michael? That you've
I've got 3, so I have that chestnut cask, and then I've
that old chestnut.
That old chestnut. It's I'm kind of not probably enjoying it as much as Mike would be.
Yeah,
I think
have you got the first one?
wood's too strong. I'm not sure which one. It's a couple of years ago, so it is like 4 or 5 years.
I think I picked up mine in 2016.
Do you believe in this thing when the bottle gets down to like a third left? You just can't leave it sitting on your shelf for
Yeah,
a
no,
year or
you
2
need
years.
to-
You've got to get rid of it, haven't
Once it gets kind of a third,
you? Like this.
a quarter, yeah,
That's got to go soon now.
yeah.
Duncan's there like going, "That looks like a third. Yeah, let's get
No,
let's
it
get
is.
it done."
Yeah, that's a pretty healthy third.
That's just Mike holding that up there. I've got this Glen Scotia Campbelltown Festival from this year. I've probably got about a third left, and when they get down to that level, I'm accepting
no,
that I've got to finish
they
it
are-
soon.
Yeah, they are pretty stable. Till about that level, then that's kind of the tipping point. You have too much headspace, and you lose too much of the flavour over time. So,
What do you think? What do you think? Like 6 months, like to get rid of it, or 3 months? I mean, finish it. You know, do you
I
think
would
6
finish
months?
it within a month.
Do you
There we go.
use
Get it down, yeah.
Pretty quick.
Michael Henry.
Get it
Hashtag
down.
get it down, yeah.
30-day countdown?
Yeah,
Responsibly.
responsibly, yeah. Just a bit every
Have
day.
you got any opinion on the tape stuff that you wrap around the top of the bottle? I can't remember. It begins with a P.
Parafilm.
Yeah,
Parafilm.
parafilm.
Yeah.
No, we use that in work,
Yeah.
but I don't use it at home.
No, I don't use
Do you
it.
think it
either.
actually makes any tangible difference or not?
No, I think you look at the space.
I'm hoping you
that's-
say no so I can stop buying it.
Mike, the easier option is to create an actual room in your house, which is actually a vacuum, like space, and just store all your bottles in a vacuum. And you have to have 2 doors to go into
Forgot to
it.
turn it off.
You got like 2 hatches, like you're going for like a space shuttle to get into. And if you get it wrong, you obviously you're dead.
Dead.
Like you.
Didn't learn your lesson, did you?
Yeah, it's just a super risky way of storing whiskey, but very exciting. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah. So, anything else on the Irish flight? If you were setting up an Irish flight, I thought it was sounded like
I
some
think
suggestions.
that's if you kind of do those 5, a pretty solid lineup.
Yeah. So what? So let's do it. Run through it quickly because people will be interested, right? So it was.
You would have a Powers Distillers cut.
So Powers Distillers cut, and then
Jameson Black Barrel.
yeah. Did you say director's cut or a different one?
I'll say the Powers Gold Director's Cut.
Mm-hmm.
That's the 43%,
And then the Black Barrel.
and then the Black Barrel. Move on to Powers John's Lane 12.
Yep.
Red Breast 12 cast strength.
Mm-hmm.
There is a it's a jump in price. It's not often
Oh, it's over £50, isn't it?
yeah.
Oh yeah, it's significantly
So
more, isn't it?
there's
It's like
that's like
90?
the first.
How do you look at yourself in the
This
mirror
one
when you
was
know you
80.
spent more than £80?
Yeah. So this was a big thing for me to.
Was it a present
Do that.
or
No, I
did
bought
you
it myself.
did you ask the shop to make a receipt to say £50 and you just paid the extra £30 in cash so you could tell yourself it was £50?
No,
No.
it's kind of probably haven't bought anything above 50 for two years since.
Yeah.
And then finish with kind of a Method of Madness, just any of the Method of Madness to show kind of what kind of news happening.
Yeah, what kind of crazy stuff they can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Thank you for sharing that Irish flight and also for talking us through why you like the flavour and why that flavour is coming out of Irish whiskey. I definitely found that interesting because I really don't know that much about Irish
hugely.
whiskey. Although I have tried a bunch, but I just don't really. It's just one of those things. You obviously try them when you go to festivals and you have the odd bit here and there, and I get the odd bottle, but it's really just on the peripheral for me. So it's something that I should get more into.
I feel like we need a trip to Bushmills as well. We can add that to the list.
We keep talking about these trips, but we haven't actually
Yeah.
done one yet, have we? The pod on the road.
Kendall this year again.
Yes, yeah, with my dad this time. So
Irish distillers are there.
cool. Are you in Kendall this time?
Don't know yet. I'm still.
Maybe.
We might be able to sort you out a ticket.
Be nice if you came as a punter.
No, if I do come down, it would be for the day, so I'll be driving back up the road.
Yeah, so you come down for the Saturday midday session or whatever.
Yes, my son plays rugby on Sundays, and I coach. So
Oh, you coach rugby?
Yeah.
I would say loosely coach. It's just
As you know, we have some mutual friends. And
Oh, yeah, you
before
mentioned that
this
on By
podcast,
Drams, didn't you, the other day, I think?
I tried doing some digging to get a bit of dirt on you, and it turns out you're a very nice man with
No, I don't believe
no
it.
dirt whatsoever. I was very disappointed.
No, the rugby is I played till I was 38, and you talked about kind of dodgy knees before he came on, and so
So you retired 20 years ago now, then?
it feels like my knees feel like it's 20 years.
I'm guessing second row.
Yeah, a short second row.
Yeah.
But I've dislocated my knee in my early 20s, had my cruciate replaced twice.
Oh.
So I
God.
kind of, when I was playing back home at Coleraine, one of the older players used to say, like, it's better to wear out than rust away.
It's not.
And I kind of took his advice, and now I think I'd challenge it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's better to just slowly go rather than to just be gone.
Even now, I'm only 41, and my rugby reunion, that first bar when people walk in, they're like, everyone's like, someone's shoulder's gone or someone's neck's gone. Like I said on the last pod, I put my neck out drying my hair.
Someone
like,
can't get
my
out of their car because their back's gone in the
body
car.
is ruined from rugby. Like, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't swap any of it for a second. I love everything.
Yeah.
I wish I'd taken it more seriously younger, but yeah. Hey,
So that's now I get my kind of rugby fix through coaching P4 at the minute.
Right. Okay. What? How high do the P's go? Is it like
So that's kind of 7 to 8 year old. So
okay? So it's the age group you're allowed to teach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Do they give you any abuse? The 7 to 8 year olds.
That's the top level I reached, by the way.
Do they give any stick to you? Are they like?
Not stick to you, but it's just there's some days they listen, and other days it's just you're talking to
Carnage.
like there's no chance none of them are clicked in. They're just more interested in throwing each other about, and
Yeah.
I remember trying to.
Doesn't sound
when
like
I
a
did
total shock.
When I did summer camp, I tried teaching rugby to American teenagers, or not even teenagers at this point. Some of them were like 10 years old. And when you see these clips on the internet of like absolute carnage, there's just kids running around everywhere. The ball's going forwards. The second ball's on the pitch going backwards, and they're just taking each other out. Like, and they're like, yeah. I'm like,
Just to build a bridge with the two of you, because obviously I did play rugby when I was younger for a little bit, like not long, but
of course did, mate.
no, just a little bit.
Yeah, bringing the water on counts.
No. When I was really
vital
young,
part.
not properly, but there's something very satisfying about when you really fizz a pass in rugby, like really satisfying. Catching less so, but when you really fizz a pass,
I
and that
couldn't tell you,
ball-
I've never passed in my life. Crash ball every single time.
You're joking,
Boys would be like, massive gap outside, and I'm like, or I can take those 3 players on. I'm like, I know exactly what I'm going to do.
no,
Route A.
I thought you were kind of going to say that kind of satisfaction when you line somebody up and you get your shoulder right in that midpoint and they crumple.
I'm not. That's you guys. I'm the person who's dodging. I was the person who was dodging people and doing all the stylish. I was the Michael Henry to the Michael Henry. Right? I was the finesse player always.
Finesse.
Always.
The way you carried that water on was spectacular.
Spectacular.
The pirouette.
I didn't play rugby. I just said I did a little bit. I did lacrosse. Lacrosse is a contact sport, lads. All right, and you wear helmets to protect your head for future generations. Yeah.
You played lacrosse in the UK, which really is something very impressive.
Yeah, it was a good sport. Northerners are very good at it.
I would love to have played lacrosse. I think if you would have
loved lacrosse because it's
you'd have
actually
introduced rugby boys to lacrosse, you wouldn't have played lacrosse because we'd have been on the team over you. But it's such a like, are you waiting for the bite?
It's a full of running contact sport. When
I saw lacrosse in the States, I was like, holy shit, that needs to come to Britain.
Except you can play it without, like, my knees, like, everything still works. And so even though you get hit and you hit, and people try really dumb stuff like try to break your wrist and all that kind of stuff, and with the sticks, and they try to break your ribs or whatever. But it's not the same as rugby because haven't got that ongoing. You're not taking as many hits during the game. You might
It's the
take
same kind of thing.
you take
It's
a
like
few hits, not
the mentality of
continual
like
hits.
lacrosse, ice hockey, rugby is very similar in terms of like your mentality for how you treat competition.
So the best thing in lacrosse is this: is whenever you're going for the ball, somebody would shout man, somebody would shout ball. So teamwork, right? So the ball is on the ground. Someone needs to pick it up, which means you have to have good form to pick up the ball, or you can also pick it up in a fancy way, a Michael Henry way, like where you sort of flick your stick out and grab it. But it's a lower percentage. Michael Henry. So one of my favourite things is always that someone go man, someone go ball, and that's it. That's the decision made. So if it's 2-on-1 to pick up the ball, someone takes out the other person, and they have to hit them just before they're collecting the ball. You can't just hit them anytime. They have to be about to pick up the ball, which means that timing-wise, someone has to run in, take that guy out. So if you get it right, what'll happen is the opposing player is going to pick up the ball. They've gone down, which means that they're about to get absolutely wiped out. So they've gone crouched down to pick up the ball on the run. Someone hits them, absolutely annihilates them, and someone just runs through and cleans up the ball. And that was
Sounds
the
a bit
sort
like
of
cowardice to me.
that's the rules. That's the rules.
Sounds like cowardice.
So anyway, onto the Sassenach, right? This is such a controversial subject, isn't it, Michael? So we really appreciate you talking about it. Yeah. We have signed the NDAs and we sent them over to you.
Onto the lamp dram.
Yeah. Anyway, we, as you know, in a previous episode, we tasted it, right? And we had some samples, and Mike's bought a bottle, and we really liked it. But it's not even a but. I think the but is because it's so successful and connected to the famous actor Sam Heughan.
Yep.
Yes, got his name right again. Because it's connected to Sam Heughan, I keep wanting to say Huge
Huge one.
one.
what
Yeah,
I
Sam Huge one. Yeah.
Going.
So
Rumours have it. But
yeah, he's a big lad. To be fair, he's very big. So because of this, there's been a little bit of pushback, hasn't there? Been a bit of blowback in the whiskey community because everyone's saying, "Oh, they're just drinking it because it." But it is actually a lovely whiskey. So we thought it'd be really great for you to talk us through the whiskey and what it's about, right? Because you know a lot about it.
Yeah, and for me, I think it's been brilliant for whiskey. Like the number of people it's brought in to whiskey has been huge, and it's like the whiskey has had a problem bringing kind of new people in, and in particular bringing women in, and the Sassenach seems to have kind of found the answer to that.
It has.
And it does, like, it is kind of a celebrity or personality whiskey, and that Sam does use his kind of profile to sell the whiskey.
Yeah.
So a lot of the marketing is about him, but it's based on a very credible product.
So do you want to tell us a bit about? Are you allowed to tell us a bit about the product and what's gone into it? And
how it came about.
Yeah, and how it came about. Yeah.
Kind of the idea and the concept was all Sam's. So he came to us with the idea that he wanted to do his own whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
And he was very clear that he didn't want something that was just we go off and make it and send him a bottle when it's done.
Yeah, he wanted to be involved.
He wanted to be involved, and the way his involvement from the start has been that it's been his concept and he's had control over the direction of it the whole way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he's been involved in kind of very heavily in the actual blending of the product. So we started off at the first meeting with him, the idea or his kind of concept for the whiskey was that with him traveling, he wanted something that kind of brought him home.
Okay.
So it was that kind of evocative feeling of when you taste the whiskey, it's kind of almost gives you a hug and takes you back home.
Wherever he is in the world.
I was going to say, so you're kind of the perfect person for that because, you're looking for that in Irish whiskey.
Yeah.
Working at a Scotch distillery.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And you must travel as well sometimes, Mike, into other countries and things like that. Other than holidays.
Not.
Other than Mallorca without the missus.
You're just stuck in Glasgow in the rain.
I'm pretty much stuck in Glasgow in the rain.
You're raining on Monday, you're raining on Tuesday.
Loch Lomond's pretty busy, so I'm pretty hands-on, so I don't get to travel with work.
So Sam comes in and Sam says, "I want to make a whiskey, and I want it to be like want it to be that familiarity to take me back home wherever I'm in the world in these other countries." And what happened next?
Yeah, so we talked through some options and kind of put together kind of a pretty broad range of blends, and we tasted them. We talked like what was working, what's not working, and we went through kind of probably about 6 rounds of that. Each time kind of getting more and more focused on the blend composition that was kind of delivering what he wanted it to. So we probably looked at least 60, 70 different blends.
Wow, that's
over
a
the
lot,
space
isn't it?
of about 6 months. So it was a combination of him coming to the distillery.
You stubbing your cigarette out on like the 65th one, going,
Yeah,
"Got to be this one, Sam." Honestly, goodness me, how many have we
Yeah.
been through now?
Because it was
It's like that Father Ted moment in in the My Little Horse in the competition when they're trying to write the song. Have you seen that? Sorry, Michael. Continue.
I was a fan of Father Ted. I was trying to remember that one, but
You've got to be careful. You can't talk about Father Ted anymore. It's been cancelled, hasn't it? Unfortunately.
Yeah. No, we can talk about it now.
Oh,
Because,
just still,
yeah.
but not in the
Father
future.
Ted was good. Nothing that comes with it since.
So, so you're at 60 to 70 blend samples you went through to get to this one.
So, and it was really no, I was tasting with Sam, and he was saying which one to go with and what direction to take it, and I was
Right.
kind of trying to use our whiskies to meet that.
Yeah.
So in terms of impact that he had, the blend was very much kind of his flavour, his
So-
direction with it.
So you weren't, to be clear, you weren't just, and maybe I've misunderstood here, but you weren't just pulling things off the shelf and going, try that one. You were actually creating the whiskey to meet the criteria that had been laid
Yeah.
out, and then
So
bringing
he
it back
was-
to be sampled to try to see if it's met the criteria.
Yeah, and then he would say, I like this, but I like this taste, this character, this note. I want more of this, I want less of that.
Yeah.
So
Wow, fair play.
in terms of his impact on the whiskey, he had, we talk a lot about independent bottlers, and independent bottlers get a lot of credit for the quality of their spirit.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of time it's buying whiskey from a distillery,
And bottling it.
even as mature spirit, bottling it. What the impact he had on the Sassenach, he had much more impact than any sort of kind of independent bottler bottling a cask.
Yeah.
I think I just want to say that because that's
Yeah.
kind of came up in the kind of master malt chat.
Were you quite impressed with the attitude that he came in with?
And had he worked collaboratively with you to achieve it?
He drinks a lot of whiskey. He's very knowledgeable about whiskey,
Okay.
and there's an SMWS interview with him, like Vic Galloway
Yeah.
Yeah, I've listened
interviews
to that one.
him. So he knows what he's talking about, and he knew kind of the flavors that he was looking for. And
See, when I watched that, I got the impression that he knew a lot more than he was letting on during
Yeah.
the thing, and he was very polite.
Yeah.
That's
and
why I
let
said
them
Izzy.
talk to him.
That's why I said Izzy. He was a really
I got
good
that
listener.
impression
in
that
yeah.
he was like, oh, "Okay, thank you." Like for the absolute basics, like it's aged in wood, and he's like, "Oh, great."
Yeah.
It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
the
So he
impression I got.
really knows a lot about whiskey then.
yeah,
And it's
and then
so what are you allowed to say? Because obviously we don't need to say anything you're not allowed to say. I don't really understand this sort of world, but we just make a podcast. But what are you allowed to say? Kind of what went into it? Not exactly, but like sort of the generals around it. Like so people could so people who look at the price and the bottle and say could understand why the price point for it, not just the quality of the product and the time that went into it, but also the type of liquid that went in there.
yeah, so it's a 55% malt
Yep.
blend, 8 to 12-year-old malt,
Okay, that sweet spot we talked about.
and it's part finished in Madeira.
Okay, yeah.
The grain is mostly 10-year-old. It does have some 22-year-old organic grain. I'd say it's not an insignificant amount. So it's not like teaspoon. It's like
it's impactive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's closer to 10%.
Yeah.
So the age profile, it's probably around a 10 to 12-year-old
Uh-huh.
kind of average age, and it's bottled at 46% non-chill filtered.
Yep.
Realistically, you're probably the only company that could have actually achieved what he wanted.
Yeah, because that's if you'd went to somebody like
Jewers
Chivas,
or- yeah.
they would have given it to a product development team. They would have gone off and came back to him, and 2 years later,
Yeah.
and said, here's what your whiskey's going to be.
Yeah.
With us, we were able to turn it around in 6 months.
Wow.
There was a delay of 2 months on it at the end, and that's the last set of samples I sent them. I wasn't able to get them chill filtered, so
Okay.
I sent him the last set at 46.
Yeah.
And when he got them, he put everything on hold, and he came in to see me at the distillery, and we had it was like at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday evening. So
Yeah.
the distillery was empty. It was just me and him kind of sitting nosing whiskey in our tasting room.
Mm-hmm.
Because at this stage we're due to bottle in about 2 or 3 weeks time, and we hadn't nailed the final liquid. So we had all the labels printed and everything for 43%. I sent these samples at 46.
Obviously he's gone for the 46.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smart guy.
So that is scrapped. So he scrapped all the labels for the first run.
What a great decision that was, because that extra 3% ABV makes all the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it made it kind of non-chill filtered. It's important for Loch Lomond because a big part of our flavour is the fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And fruit's something that's hit by chill filtration. So, he chose to kind of delay the bottling. He scrapped a significant amount of dry goods to get the whiskey right.
Michael, can I ask, was that an accident?
Michael's straight. Don't play, just for listeners. Never play Michael. Never play Michael at poker. He will win.
Yeah.
He will win.
I feel like that might have been a happy accident.
Yeah,
it's okay.
You'll see that Loch Lomond have a few whiskies at 46%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
when we did the episode and we did the Jensen Button versus Sam Hewen top drums, we put I put Loch Lomond 18 in my blind sample. So we did them completely blind. We didn't know which order they were in. I think I had Loch Lomond 18, Sassenach, and what was that one? Jensen Button, Coach Built.
Coach Built.
Yeah, and they're actually they were all top whiskies, to be fair. But for me, I could obviously tell what the 18 was even blind, which I think is a good thing, really. I mean, I would be a bit concerned about my palate nose if I couldn't. But we thought the Sassenach was brilliant, basically. Just great flavour profile and delightful. And I think that doing that, it was a good exercise for us, because whilst we're the more light-hearted side of the whiskey community, we get sort of dragged into less, what's the word?
The serious.
Yeah, sometimes. And I think that everyone just needs to take a step back for a start. As we understand it, it's actually a really well thought out, well crafted whiskey that's come together in a beautiful bottle, and it's being drunk all around the world and making a lot of people really very happy.
Like,
and so many ladies, females that are getting into whiskey as well for it.
Yeah, if you look at the social feeds, like the people that are buying it, they're buying one bottle, they're trying to get 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And for a lot of them, you start seeing they'll have the Sassenach bottle, but then they'll have 4 or 5 whiskies behind it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's that kind of.
It's a gateway.
For a lot of
whiskey.
people, it's like a gateway into whiskey.
I think it's also we've also seen people who it's obviously rekindled their love of whiskey. Now, obviously, that's come through their love of a TV show as well. But people who are ladies or females, it's so hard to say. What do you say? Females, I guess. Yeah. Women, right, around the world, who either weren't into whiskey at all or did like whiskey, have grown up around whiskey, but maybe weren't so conscious of it, have sort of grown out of it, and this has brought them back in and got them back into thinking about the whiskies that they love and they've tried and going back out. So I can only really see positives in it. That's it. It's just a positive thing, isn't it?
Well, I think like this, what you've said today wasn't available as far as I can see anywhere else. And it'll probably be a massive eye-opener to the whiskey nerds and kind of open it up to them.
What we see is, we see a lot of like blind drams, like the festivals. There's a big kind of social side to whiskey, and what we get out of it isn't just about the whiskey itself. It's kind of the friendships that are made and the enjoyment and the good times they have together.
And that's why you're Puddin Island Drams Glenfiddich, because it's memories.
Yeah.
And that's that sort of communities building up around Outlander and Sam Hewen's other Peak Challenge.
Yeah.
So a big part of
Men in Kilts as well.
So you've all these kind of communities of like fan-based communities of the show, and like Sassenach's a part of that. So it's a part of the enjoyment of the show that he's involved in. So in that way, it's building these communities in the same way that whiskey enthusiasts build communities.
You're obviously very proud of it, and I think rightfully so. I can only wonder what would have happened if the same thing had been tried in the sort of. You ever watch The Apprentice when they tried to come up with a product in like 6 or 12 hours or whatever? And so that's how you do it properly over 6 months through 65 to 70 samples, really, really taking on board the feedback, and then right at the end, just go, oh no, it's 46%. There's been a mistake. Oh, okay, yeah. Change the labels. Okay, great, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Sam. Have I
Sorry,
given
Sam.
you
Yeah,
what I want?
46%. Yeah. Come to the distillery and we'll just hang out a bit. Try this. Oh, 46. Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. That
No.
is a lot better than that. You're right. It is better.
No, but
I'm
but
amazed.
thing is, like based on what you said, Sam would already know that because he obviously is really into whiskey. So therefore, it becomes like a commercial decision as well because the cost is higher, isn't it? Off 46
Yeah,
to 43%.
it is because it's like the price was already fixed. So
You had a little negotiation.
the if you have a kind of end retail price and you increase from 43 to 46%, there's a price in the spirit, but then that also puts the duty and everything
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
So it put his kind of margins down.
Yeah. Okay. So all right. So it's a
So
real
he sucked up
decision
the
on
loss,
decision on product, right?
Yeah,
Product
so
over.
it was very much
the
a-
loss.
Yeah.
I think that's also important to put on record. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
because-
he, that's I've been very clear about. He wanted this to be a kind of credible whiskey, and the choices he made throughout have all kind of led to what I think is a very credible whiskey, and I think I've been grateful to be involved in it because
Yeah.
it's kind of. I've had a chance to do something great in bringing the whiskey together with him, but then the reception that it's had has been when you spend your life kind of making whiskey for people to drink and enjoy, seeing the way that this has been received and the enjoyment people are having drinking it, and that's kind of what you want from a whiskey.
yeah.
It's early validation on your future 20, 30-year whiskey.
But it's just a lovely thing, isn't it? It's like if you create anything or you're involved in creating something and it brings people joy, it's always going to make you happy, isn't it? I mean, so yeah, I think it's a pretty fantastic thing all round to see. And thank you so much for actually talking us through what actually happened, because I think that people that do happen to listen to it, it will be an eye opener for them. Some people know, some people don't know. But you've really gone through all the detail there, so I think thank you, for sharing that.
One more question, just a quick one. Who do you think would win in a fight between Matthew McConaughey and Sam Heughan?
All right.
I think Sam would have he's a pretty fit guy.
Okay, what about Sam Heughan and Tom Hardy? What's we doing now? Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's quite good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Tom Hardy.
Are we gonna keep
Tom
going?
Hardy.
He once jumped a fence and chased. He once jumped over a fence at full speed, running in the streets to go and chase somebody down. It wasn't even like involved with him. But I don't know anything. Go on. So he's going to win.
I would have to say Tom Hardy in that one because of the
The bowl.
martial arts
Fair.
type stuff.
But he is a lot smoke. To be fair,
That's your challenge,
Sam's a big
Sam.
guy.
Do your martial arts.
Yeah, Sam's 6'3" and Sam's kind of. I don't know if he's kind of. A bit
Hardy's
taller
got
than
lower
me.
centre of gravity. He's gonna
Yeah.
be He's
Right.
He's a
Maybe.
racing snake.
Hey, it's a racing snake. Is that? Can you validate, Michael? Have you ever heard the term racing snake?
I've never heard of racing snake.
Ah.
I've heard of racing sparrow.
What is going on?
Racing
That's not a thing
sparrow.
either.
Yeah,
Where's
it's
that come from?
I love it.
Like there's more meat in a racing sparrow.
I love
So if,
just that
if you're
short
looking
distance
pretty, if you're looking
from
pretty
Ireland to
skinny,
Wales. It's gone from like racing snake to racing sparrow, and it's reached you in England, Duncan, and you've gone.
No.
He's very fast.
I want
be fair, it
to
was-
make
it
one up.
was-
I can't think of anything good.
it was something that you would hear at like Sunday lunch. It's like you'd have 3 potatoes on your plate, and your mum would put another 3 and say you've
Right.
kind of. You look like there's more meat in a racing sparrow, so you need to bulk up.
Yeah. He moves like a racing beaver. That one. There we go. Yeah.
Doesn't work.
No. Damn it.
So English.
Damn it. So, you are aware that you have a slower. I talk fast and you talk slowly, so it's going to be an interesting listen, right?
I'm going to say now, I'm going to edit this podcast, Duncan, not you.
What? Why?
Yeah. No, I'm going to edit this podcast.
But last one, you got the sound volumes wrong.
Yeah, no, that was for a very specific reason, which you don't know. I had to put a low filter pass on due to some interference from electronic equipment to take out a high pitched, which would have driven people nuts.
Oh, okay. Was that my fridges interfering?
No, I think it was something at my end.
Whiskey
My
fridges.
Yeah, whiskey fridges is.
What's your opinion on whiskey fridges, Michael? Let's go there.
Not everybody can have a cellar. That's my opinion on it. Go on, Michael.
No, I think you did that Whiskey 101.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where whiskey fridges belong.
That's funny. You should. Mike's definitely going to leave that in.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I thought it'd be really funny if we did a bit where we see who can talk the slowest for a bit.
There's no.
That's just in my mind.
Has it come to this?
Unoriginal pirated material, listening to the stills. Unlock the secrets of whiskey and the art that fulfills. We blend the grains and the malts on Highland hills. We kick back with the dram as the glass gently swills. In the world of great whiskey, time slows and chills. Raise your glass, my friend, to the warmth that instills a symphony of flavors, easing dystopian drills. In the realm of the dram, where each sip thrills.
Go and put my pod head back on. So, like, you're really, really like into flavors. And anyone that's into whiskey should be, but you talk about flavours more than other people that I engage with in the whiskey community. Even though they'll say their notes, you talk about what you want to get out of the whiskey.
Apart from your dad, Duncan,
Nice.
who said it's nice.
Nice, yeah. It's nice, son.
I have something similar when I go home to my dad. I take like my bottles and it's like whether it's like an open special edition or like buy him a green spot. It's like that's nice. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. Well, did you get the such and such on it? And he's like, yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. So, do you remember we talked about two flavors that shouldn't work together but do? Right? Do you have any kind of mackerel, guilty pleasure in terms of
pate and what? Smoked
mackerel and bananas.
Yeah, we tried all kinds of random flavors together.
Is there anything that you
I got the worst
together?
end of that stick.
But,
Did you not see my pictures where I had to try these? I say I had to. I went and bought smoked mackerel and banana.
Mackerel's like a sore point for me. I used to do a lot of boat fishing when I was kind of in my teens. So you used to go out and you'd come home with like 100, 200 mackerel.
400.
And
200
you'd have to
mackerel.
like fillet them and
honestly,
freeze them for the beach fishing season in the winter. So anytime I see mackerel, I think about 200 guts and heads, and blood over my hands and under my fingernails.
People that have like never fished mackerel.
It's just
and you can't get rid of it. You can't get rid of it for days.
Don't believe how easy it is to like fish mackerel. You literally put a rod in with like 6 different hooks on a line. Put it in.
They all come out.
There's 6 on it, and you're like, "Oh, I'm a caveman." I'm like, "This is it."
So that kind of mackerel and banana hit me pretty hard in terms of flavors I could not handle.
But is there anything that you have like a guilty pleasure, which is one flavor which you have with another, in food or anything, and you think, or even like something you always look for in like whiskey, like if you get like a whiskey which tastes like Frazzles and something else, is anything that
New York cheesecake.
Yeah, you love your New York cheesecake.
Which is why the Inchmere single cask.
No, there's sometimes I kind of have to watch my flavor notes because I get like with our distillation styles and the way peat comes through. We talked about that kind of softer peat, tangy peat. I get like a lot of like
tangy
clove
peat
in it, and the way I describe it's like clove rock, which is a boiled sweet from home. So not everyone knows what clove rock is.
Never heard of that.
It's like super like niche.
So it's more kind of
Yeah.
things that I kind of have to kind of look at my tasting notes sometimes. Yeah,
I think, will anybody else understand that? Yeah, but it doesn't matter, does it? I mean, it's, I just wonder.
Rumor has it there's also some Palo Cortado bottlings
yes.
coming out. Michael.
Brian sent me a picture of one. So
Brian's like, do this, do that.
Brian
yeah,
sent
so,
you a
apparently
picture of what you're releasing.
there may or may not be a bottle coming out at some time, but
The 12-year-old.
maybe about a 12. Maybe.
Maybe.
But I
Give
don't
or
know
take a
how.
year.
I didn't know when it was coming out, but apparently Brian did. So,
That's,
Brian signed it off.
which
He's
so
now his like
saying
secondary
is,
taste.
I make the stuff, and he knows more about it than me. Is a pretty good kind of way to be.
you'll find if you'll be at a festival and you'll be like, where's my wallet gone? And then later it'll be back in your pocket.
Yeah.
Right. He'll just become you one day.
Is that a cask or
Identity theft.
no? Is it? It's been around, but it seems to be getting more popular. Palo
What, Palo
Cortado.
Cortado?
I love anything in Palo. I really enjoy.
Yeah, me too.
Is it just to keep up with the Joneses to an extent, or is that just something you're?
It's really with Glen Scotia, the kind of the festivals where we kind of push the boat out on different flavours. Kind of the core range is pretty much sherry focused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's Glen Scotia with a great distillery character, and it works so well in bourbon.
Yeah, it does.
And then
First fill.
the sherry influence is very much just an influence. It's more of a nod to the kind of historical use of sherry, where although it's not full maturation, it's kind of just the way sherry was. It would have been first, second, third, fourth, fifth
So you're
fill.
not really picking up anything anyway.
So it would never, like 100, 200 years ago, it never would have been 100% first fill. It would have been a mix of kind of fills. So that way, finishing gives us that influence where we kind of give a supporting hit of sherry flavour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or cask flavour. So the core range is very much sherry focused. The festivals where we kind of push the boat out a bit more. I've seen that with the White Port this year.
Yeah.
The Demerara rum. When we did use sherry, it was with a big kind of, it was a young, bold, heavy peat.
Yeah.
So again, that just try and make it kind of gives many kind of different aspects of Glen Scotia, with the kind of seasonal release and the new releases coming out for the second half of the year. It's again very much just sherry, but a bit less conventional. So not just the Oloroso and PX, but we'll kind of look to see how Glen Scotia works with kind of more classical sherries, not just the kind of Oloroso.
Yeah, 'cause there's not much pheno about either, and I feel like that
No.
could, especially like if you think of yours is so fruity, and you've got the pheno that's so dry.
Also, in a lot of those,
It's like a Chinese.
in those first fill
Sweet and
Scotias, you can sometimes get I always think it's the nose with Glen Scotia. The nosing notes that you get on it just unreal.
Yeah.
Like obviously it's delicious, but you really, particularly those like SMWS casks, single casks that you get, and not just those, but particularly those ones have very wacky noses, and it's just like unlike anything. But when we did that, the blind tasting of the Glen, which turned out to be Glen Scotia, yeah. Yes, we mentioned again, Mike. The similarity you could pick up was more in the nose through the first few. They all had the same kind of like similarity on the nose, and that's really interesting when you actually do a flight from the same distillery, blind and then realise it's the same distillery and then realise you could actually notice the similarities even if you couldn't
yeah,
pick
'cause I
out
think
what the distillery
some
was.
people
right?
picked it up on Dram 3, I think, and then other people picked it up on Dram 4, and then everyone was lying by Dram 5 and saying they can, like I said it too.
They had it at Dram 3.
Yeah.
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 Had it Dram 1.
Yeah. Straight away, I knew.
Straight away, knew straight away. Yeah. So thanks so much for listening today. And we want to say, Mike and I want to say a really big thank you to Michael for coming on. Michael, thank you so much for coming on and featuring on the podcast. We really
And
appreciate
putting up with us.
Yeah, and our bad jokes. Yeah.
I know. So thanks for having me on tonight. It's kind of good. Well, good to see the familiar faces from Blind Rams and have a chance to kind of talk a bit more about kind of things Loch Lomond and things not so Loch Lomond related.
Yeah, I hope that for people who are fans of Loch Lomond and Glen Scotia and also are interested in the, some of the processes that you talked about and how that really influences and affects the whiskey. I found it really interesting anyway. So thanks so much for sharing some of your knowledge with us today.
Yeah,
So-
and a big shout out to the Outlander fans because they're going to love this.
That little section, we'll have to tell them where that little section is in the pod so they can listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you again at an event at some point in the future, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I'll say thanks again for having me.
Yeah. Enjoy the Rugby World Cup.
Cheers.
Yeah. Good luck to Ireland. Good luck to Wales. Good luck to Scotland.
And
I've good luck to Italy as well.
Yeah.
My wife's Italian, so
I
took my son.
So's mine. Second generation, but doesn't speak a word, but yeah.
So I took my son to see the Scotland-Italy warm-up game. So he had his Scotland rugby top on with his Italian football top on underneath.
So you need to find someone to stitch half Scotland, half do you remember the British Lions and we did New Zealand and you had Lions New Zealand shirt in one? That's what you need to do. Just combine those things. But yeah, mega. Well, mate, thanks very much for listening. It's been really good. And again, thank you to everyone who's listened to the pod. If you like us, please follow on all the socials, usual place at Honest or Malt. Like, subscribe, leave a 5-star review. Don't be an arse. Don't say anything horrible. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye. Done. Boom. Right.